These are the top 10 expensive cards from 2022. Let's talk about it. G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are talking about the top 10 most expensive Pokemon cards that were released in 2022. Let's get into it with, starting in at number 10, we do have the Rayquaza Vmax from Silver Tempest. Now, this card, as you can see, I am on TCG Player, so all of this information is going to be in American dollars, but I am going to convert it to Australian and the UK pound. So as you can see, this one is sitting around $46 US at the moment, give or take. You can see that when it was first released, it was actually in the mid to high 60s, and it has fallen, and it has just slowly started to creep up again. So it's sitting at roughly around $46 on the market in the US, and if we convert this to Australian dollars, it's about 66 Australian and around £37 in the UK. Now this one is obviously from Silver Tempest. There is only 2 cards from Silver Tempest on this list, so I'm just glad to see that at least 2 cards did make it from that set. Now this is part of the Trainer Gallery from Silver Tempest. It's not the most expensive Trainer Gallery card, but it is definitely one of the most expensive Trainer Gallery cards that have been released. And it's a Rayquaza card, so you can never go wrong. They are very collectible, and they usually do hold their value. Now at number 9, we do have the Pikachu Vmax from Lost Origin. Now this card, you can see, sitting a little bit more than that Rayquaza card at $48 in the US, which converts to around, give or take, about $70 here in Australia and around £41 in the UK. Now this is the most expensive Trainer Gallery card that has been released so far, at least in 2022. It is a very tough card to pull. It looks beautiful, and you can see that the price history, if we chuck it back to 6 months, you can see that it definitely did start off pretty high in the 94. It did take a massive drop, and it has just been kind of stagnating around that mid to high 40s ever since. Coming in at number 8, we do have the Origin Form Palkia card. Now this one is from Astral Radiance, and we can see that it's currently sitting at about $50 in the US, and if we do convert that, it's about $74 Australian and about £42 in the UK. And if we have a look at this card from its original release, we can see that it started off pretty high at 90, and it has just been falling ever since. Had a little bit of a step back up in October, and just has kind of been sitting around that $50 mark ever since. Next, we do have a similar card, which is the Origin Form Algae, also a part of the Astral Radiance. This one's sitting at a little bit higher at around $53 in the US, which means that in Australia it's about $76, and in the UK it's about £43. Now this card, if we do have a look, this one was actually the most expensive card in Astral Radiance when it was released. You can see that it was sitting at $140 upon its release, and then ever since it's just been slowly, gradually dropping, and now it's been stagnating over the last probably around 6 months or so, in and around those low to mid 50s. Next up, we do have the Charizard V Star, the secret rare from Brilliant Stars. This one is sitting at about $85, which is around 120 in Australia and around £68 in the UK, give or take. If we do have a look at the story of this card, we can see that it started off a very expensive card at $387, and we can see that from the effect of this graph that it's just been slowly dropping ever since its release, essentially. So it is a Charizard card, so obviously after they do stop producing Brilliant Stars altogether, I'd imagine, of course, it's going to go back up in value, but it's just very interesting that you can see that it has dropped and it just continues to keep falling. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this card does sit in around 12 to 18 months time. But yeah, it's not looking too good at the moment if you did buy this, especially kind of at the beginning of Brilliant Stars' release, but we'll see what happens. Next up, we are going to have a look at the Machamp V. Now, this is the most expensive card in Astral Radiance, and it didn't start off like that, but as the Origin Form Dialga did show us, but we'll take a look at that in just a second. But this one's sitting in about $112 market price in the US, which is about $163 Australian and about £92-93 in the US. We go back to the graph, we can see that it started off at about $50 when it first did release, and if we compare that to the Origin Form Dialga, of course, which started at 140, so these have they've switched places. So it has grown ever since, and it has had a fair share of ups and downs, but it is currently sitting in about $112, and it hasn't really done much growing or decreasing pretty much since it had that initial boom in June of last year. Next up, we do have the Aerodactyl V. This is another card from Lost Origin. This one is sitting at about $119, $120 in the US, which is about 180 bucks in Australia and about 103 pounds in the UK. Now, beautiful looking card. I really do like this card. I don't have it for my collection, haven't pulled it at this rate, but we'll see how we go. And if we do have a look at the graph when this card was released at 80, obviously you can see that it did have a big jump and it has just been kind of stagnating ever since, and it's currently sitting at 120 bucks in the US. So this card is a part of Lost Origin, which I believe is one of the better sets from to come out of the Sword and Shield era. Definitely in the top 3 in my opinion. Not as great as Evolving Skies, but nothing is going to be as good as Evolving Skies. That set is just nuts. But anyway, we do move on to the top 3 now, and we do have the Charizard V from Brilliant Stars. This is the top card in Brilliant Stars. And we can see that is currently sitting at about 173 bucks, which looking down here is roughly around 260 bucks in Australia and around 148 pounds in the UK. So as I said, it's the most expensive card from Brilliant Stars. And if we do have a look at its history, it's just all over the shop. We can see it started off at about 209, had a big decrease, then back up, then down, up, down, up, down, and it has been just gradually slowing down since October of last year. So it's just all over the shop, this card, which is very interesting, but it is an amazing looking card. You got Charizard fighting Venusaur, and you can never go wrong with the Charizard card. They're always very sought after and very collectible. So again, it'll be interesting to see how this card does perform after Brilliant Stars has stopped producing and you can't get it anymore, and obviously that's going to drive the price up. But we'll see where this price does land for this card. Next, we do have the Lugia V from Silver Tempest. As I said, there was 2 cards on this list for Silver Tempest, and this is number 1, the Lugia alternate full art, which is currently sitting at about 203 bucks in the US, which is about 300 in Australian dollars and about 170 pounds in the US. This one did start off at 400, as you can see, the first couple of weeks of it being released, and it has just fallen and fallen ever since, and it's just been steady kind of since December. Again, the Silver Tempest has only just come out over the last few months, but it started off good, big drop, and it's just been steady ever since, sitting at about 200 bucks in the US. Just another interesting thing, obviously this is the most expensive card from Silver Tempest, and it's sitting at about 200 bucks in the US, and if we compare that to the second most expensive, which is the Rayquaza, which we touched on, is 46. So there's over $150 difference in the top from card number 1 and card number 2 from Silver Tempest. And the final card on this list at number 1 is the Giratina V. No surprise, it is a funky looking card. I love it or hate it, but I do enjoy this card. $266 it is sitting at in the US, which is around $394 in Australia and around 222 pounds in the UK. Now, this card, if we have a look at its history, we can see, I'll put it on 6 months, we can see that it started off at 220, had a big spike to 270, has come back down, has gone back up, and is slowly just climbing down again. So again, it's a little bit up and down, this card, but this card only did come out in August, so only 4 or 5 months ago. So we'll see how it's tracking in 12 months time. But this is the most expensive card of 2022, and it has a pretty big jump compared to number 2, about a $64 jump between the first place and the second place, which is quite interesting. And another fact about this card, it is actually the 3rd most expensive card from the Sword and Shield era of cards in its entirety, obviously behind the Umbreon Vmax and that Rayquaza Vmax, both from Evolving Skies. But anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts down below for any other Pokemon card videos you would like me to pump out, and I'll get those out to you as soon as I can. But anyway guys, see you in the next one. Bye.